If the New York Knicks are going to win an NBA championship for the first time in 53 years, they're going to have to do it despite the inept approach to life from their idiot owner, Jim Dolan. We're going to get to some NBA Finals stuff. Game 4 coming up. Love a Game 4 when the Finals are 2-1. But strange scenes last night at Madison Square Garden in Midtown Manhattan in New York City as the San Antonio Spurs behind Victor Wembanyama are back in the series. Now, that's the good news. 2-1 now. Game 4 tomorrow at MSG. We'll see if Dolan, this tone-deaf idiot, has learned from his boneheaded actions. I had a couple of family members and a few friends in the building last night, and they said the atmosphere was weird. And the crowd was good, not great. My son and my brother went. It was 2.5 hours before they could get into Madison Square Garden, going through security after security after security because Jim Dolan invited his buddy Trump to hang out at the game. But credit the Spurs, and we've got a series now. So that's the piece of good news. Hello, how are you? Good to be back. Drive time, Tuesday afternoon. 17 minutes past the hour at 2 o'clock. It is a beautiful, beautiful day outside. It's about 72 degrees and sunny here in downtown Salt Lake City, Utah. And as it is every day, it's good to have you with us. Spence Checketts back behind the mic after a quick jaunt up to the Pacific Northwest. Always good to be up there, but great to be back and great to be with you. Porter Larson producing the show today. We've got a lot to do. A lot has happened since you and I spoke. Brendan Sorsby, as of now, will be playing college football this year as the quarterback for Texas Tech. When I saw Pete Thamel's tweet, I thought it was fake. In this day and age of false information, I wondered if it was a burner account or something like that, a fake account. It was not. But the NCAA will appeal, and a lot of people have reacted, including Mark Harlan, the athletic director from the University of Utah, coaches around the country, and it's become a massive story. And as I often say, to try to understand the magnitude of a story, you always wonder whether or not it is reaching the newsroom, not just the sports department. Like when Witt left for Michigan, I was on KUTV News. I wasn't just doing the sports stuff, And this has been picked up by CNN, by Fox, you name it. And the debate is taking place about what the hell happened here. I mean, most people believe it's pretty simple that Jeffrey Kessler, who's the best in the business at what he does, simply found a judge to play ball with him. And so we're going to get into it and what it kind of means now and some of the reactions, including Mark Harlan and Jim Phillips and such, and schools threatening not to play Texas Tech. Georgia sent out a memo to staff forbidding the school's team from playing Texas Tech. Other schools getting involved. Big 12 athletic director telling ESPN that they are disgusted. We have lost our soul. TCU coach Sonny Dykes told ESPN, how is anyone ever going to trust the outcome of a game again? Sorsby was horrible against Utah last year. Or was he? Question mark. Look, the bottom line when it comes to this type of approach is the danger and the tightrope that you're walking now is potentially your consumers questioning the integrity of your product. And look, maybe I'm just willfully ignorant to all of the horrible things that are happening societally. Like, does anything really matter anymore? This has always been the walking line dating back to forever. And that's why gambling has always been forbidden in sport when it comes to the players and coaches. It's on every locker room wall. You are not allowed to do this. Certainly not on your own team, not on any team, period, but definitely not on your own team. I don't care if Sorsby was playing for Indiana or not. He was in the meetings. He was in the practices. He had inside information. It is certainly unethical and should be very illegal, but it's definitely not allowed. But what are we doing here when there's no consequences for actions that are supposed to be entirely forbidden? But we'll get into it. Good guest list today. Howard Beck will stop by. Do a little NBA with Howard Beck. My buddy Gordon Monson is live in studio today. We'll do some college football. We'll get Gordon's take on the Sorsby situation. Going to bring in Filippo Silva as the World Cup is upon us now, and Going to play back my podcast from today, as we do most every Tuesday. Reality Check with Spence Checketts with our friends over at KUTV and Sinclair Broadcasting. We'll do that later on. So a lot to get to on the program with Howard Beck, Gordon Monson, Filippo Silva. Smitty joined me on the pod today. Me, Spence Checketts, back in action, back behind the mic. Great to be with you. All the great listeners on a Tuesday. And that guy, Porter Larson. Did the Sorsby news break after you ended the show yesterday? What was the timing of the Pete Thamel tweet that, again, I thought was fake when I first saw it?
No, it was, I don't know, sometime mid-morning. We were able to get to it a little bit on the show. Of course, I would say the bulk of the conversation revolving around the NBA Finals and the Jazz and their draft pick. But, we got that, I want to say, mid-morning at some point. So Smitty and I discussed it pretty in-depth.
I'm going to put 30 seconds on the clock. Give me the in a vacuum take, because you and I have been of the same mind here, where it's like, there's no way this kid's going to play. No way.
Yeah. Not so sure about that one. I think that there's a chance that he does play. Again, trial set for February, which is well after the college football season does conclude. Appeals pending. But to me, it is not just a slippery slope, but it is a legitimate moment for the future of college football, at least if you have any sort of hope that the sport... And listen, I hate to bring up like the integrity of the game, but now we have to. This is a kid who, maybe had a problem addiction-wise or other, but he didn't just bet on sports. He bet on player props and games in which he had insider info for. That is not just against NCAA rules. That is a federal crime. And we're talking about him not being indicted, being eligible to play college football in this forthcoming season. I think it's ridiculous. I think it's a legitimate which way do you go future of college football. And, it sucks that it comes down to one kid who, made some mistakes. But I think that there's leaders in place in the sport that need to start looking after their product, whether it's Brett Yormark, folks at the NCAA, or presidents from opposing schools. Which way do you go? Because I think this is an important one.
So we'll get into it on the program today. Our first guest will be Howard Beck to talk some NBA. But before Howard stops by, courtesy of our friends at IFA Country Stores, it's time now for your opening tip. Now, like any good coach, it's time to update the game plan for a healthy green lawn. Now that the weather is hot, it's time for IFA Spring and Summer Lawn Food for healthy turf that stays green all summer. IFA Spring and Summer Lawn Food, it's the ultimate lawn owner power move at ifa.coop or at a local Utah store today. All right, since you and I last spoke, a lot of things have gone down, but namely, Judge Ken Curry of the 99th District Court in Lubbock, Texas, made the wrong kind of history. Okay, so Brendan Sorsby became the first known athlete in a major sport to admit to gambling on his own team and is still going to be allowed to play the sport. It has never happened before. Pete Rose had to die before baseball would forgive him for betting on his own team. 2-game suspension for Brendan Sorsby. And, of course, the 2 games he will not be allowed to play in, they're going to win by $1 million anyway, no matter who's under center. So Porter and I have been discussing this ever since, A, the news came down, and then, B, after the court filing, the details were known. $90,000 utilizing sportsbooks accounts of his friends and family members. Did they even know about it? Dozens and dozens and dozens of bets on all types of sports. Noah Shannon saw his college career end because he placed one legal bet on his school's women's basketball team. He was a D tackle for Iowa, and that bet was reportedly less than $100. According to the filings and the court documents, we know that Brendan Sorsby placed at least 40 bets on Indiana football while still underage, and approximately, as I said, $90,000 in sports wagers using other people's sports books accounts. And he will be back in time for Texas Tech's Big 12 opener against Houston. So Jeffrey Kessler, who is a master at his craft, and when we heard that Brendan Sorsby hired Jeffrey Kessler something like this suddenly was absolutely on the table. He has figured out more complicated puzzles than this. And Kessler's argument that the NCAA was harming a recovering gambling addict's welfare by enforcing a rule that every pro sports league in this country also enforces. Okay, so it's not just college football. You walk into any locker room in any sport, and it is front and center, right in front of all the coaches and players. When's the last time that 99% of America was behind the NCAA? I mean, that's what's happened here. Of course, we know the deal. Cody Campbell, Texas Tech, spending a bunch of money, doing everything they could to bring all of these wild arguments to the table. And I do always mention that I want to be very sensitive to one's mental health and addiction and what it can cause. And knowing what we know about brain mapping and dopamine spikes and such, what they say in addiction specialization is winning a sports book is akin to taking a shot of heroin into your vein. That's the same type of dopamine spike. That's why when you win, you keep betting, you keep chasing. Even if you're losing, you're chasing. You want to get back to where you were. It's not just about the money. It's about the thrill. It's about the dopamine spike. It's about that feeling that you get when you win a bet. It's what makes it as dangerous as it is. And I do believe, as I've said before, and I'll say it again, we are setting young people up to fail and young athletes up to fail when now they are making a lot of money and they can download a sports book on their phone and place bets in real time, and now place bets with no consequences. Like, what's going to stop any young man from doing this now that plays college football or college basketball? Like, yeah, the guidelines are in place, but what this message sends is it doesn't matter. Does anything really matter anymore with this sport? For years and years and years, decades and for the history of sport, quite frankly, we can go back to the beginning. And look, I'm not going to clutch my pearls about morality in sports, because there are plenty of people playing college football or pro basketball or whatever that have done things that are probably more immoral than gambling and are allowed a pathway back. I get that. But we now have to recalibrate our understanding and expectation regarding the people who are running this stuff. Because what has always been, at least, again, we have to throw all of this out the window now, but what has always been the both spoken and unspoken rule with this stuff is that it's the one thing leagues are the most terrified about. The NFL, CTE, okay, that's going to ruin the league. No, it didn't. Domestic violence, the tone-deaf approach from the NFL with all these players that are caught smacking their partners around, that's going to kill the league. It didn't. The one thing everybody always thought could potentially compromise a sport is if the consumers that are paying the money for ticket rip, food and bev, merch, or the consumers that are sitting down on their couch to watch on television believe the product they're watching is compromised and the integrity of the competition isn't real. It actually is one of the things that has bugged me about tanking in pro basketball and players sitting. It's counter to the very core of what the endeavor is supposed to be about, and that is the purity of competition. And in the modern day, I was actually thinking about this over the weekend. I feel like sports is this space that is supposed to be authentic and real, where so many things are now run by AI and computers, and so many industries are essentially being controlled in a way where, okay, you think you're watching a reality television show? No, that's scripted. You know, what is left to watch that is actually pure when it comes to humans competing against each other, doing human things, not run by robots or technology or, AI technology that even the creators of AI now are coming forth with messaging about how concerned they are with the monsters they created communicating with each other in languages that we can't understand. There's a video that surfaced over the weekend of some robot kicking a kid in China. Like, there are all these weird things going on now, and we all have these computers in our hand at all time. What's left to turn on that is real? It has always been sport, because we believe that it's the very essence of a meritocracy, with humans working hard to prepare themselves for a moment And in the moment of competition, who comes out on top? And we never know. It's the ultimate in live theater. It's not a movie that's scripted. It's not a play that's scripted. It's not some dopey reality housewife show that's scripted. It's supposed to be this sacred place. And what this ruling does is completely compromise all of that. There's no other way around it. And I don't really know what to do. I don't know if the right thing is to not schedule Texas Tech. I don't know if the right thing is to boycott Texas Tech in any or all sport. You just kind of got to deal with it. And it's a microcosm of everything else that's going on societally of like, wait, this used to be really not okay. And now suddenly you deflect, you lie, you move on, and you wait for the news cycle to move on, and you wait for people's bandwidth and attention to either expire or move to the next problem. But this is a massive deal. When I saw this yesterday, I honestly thought the news was fake. And it will lead people to question, as Sonny Dykes said, the authenticity of the outcomes of games. And I don't blame you. It's like the NBA fans who bounced after the Tim Donaghy stuff, where an NBA official was found to be making calls in a way to affect the outcomes of games because he was sideways with some mob boss because of his gambling habit. A lot of people question the NBA because of that, and I get it, man. So, look, we'll move on. There are other things going on, but we'll get back to some of this. Gordon's going to be in studio. I want to get his take. We'll catch a break. NBA Finals, far from over, I'll tell you that much. Knicks do lead 2-1. Road team has won all 3 games. The NBA draft is right around the corner. We'll bring in Howard Beck after a quick break on a Tuesday edition of The Drive, and it's good to have you along for the ride right here on ESPN 700. Night off for the NBA Finals tonight. Game 4 will be tomorrow, 6:30 Mountain Time on ABC at Madison Square Garden. San Antonio was able to get the win last night. Great game from Victor Wembanyama. So we have a series. And we'll start things off on a Tuesday with our buddy Howard Beck from The Ringer. Howard, happy Tuesday, buddy. How are you?
Happy Tuesday, Spence. Not used to saying Tuesday. We've moved up a little bit, but happy to be here.
Yes, we have indeed, and I do appreciate your time and willingness to kind of adjust. All right, question one, were you in the building last night?
Yes.
Okay, great. That's awesome. So my son went, which was cool, because last time the Knicks were in the finals, I was about his age, and I was there. My brother was there. Nice. Yeah, it was awesome. I think I have 4 or 5 high school friends that were in the building as well. The atmosphere on television looked good. The atmosphere as described to me as people that were there like you was kind of weird. It took 2.5 hours for them to get through security. It would be very Jim Dolan to make the decision that costs his team the actual championship by inviting his buddy Trump to the game and therefore causing this sideshow that certainly seemed to permeate throughout the atmosphere. But since you were there, you describe it to me.
So I can't account for how long it took fans to get in. I didn't talk to any of the fans. We were just kind of making sure that we could get in. And it's the first time, this is the earliest I've ever gone to an NBA Finals game. They opened to the media at 4:30, 4 hours beforehand. And I got there like 4:15, and there was already a number of massive lines for us to get in. I will say, whether it was Secret Service or whoever they subcontracted with, it's some combination of like 15 different law enforcement agencies. We got through in a reasonable amount of time, and thank God it was only a 70-degree day and not a 90-degree day in June here while we were standing out there waiting to get in. So I thought it went smoothly. And fans were all in their seats, and I think that would have been the most concerning thing is if they couldn't get everybody in the doors on time. And maybe it's because everybody showed up early knowing what it was going to be. And look, Midtown was a madhouse. All these massive barriers up everywhere and just massive, massive shows of law enforcement everywhere, way beyond what you would normally need for an NBA game or even an NBA Finals game. So that gave you a clear indication of just the chaos that was coming with the president. And everybody, to their credit, got in on time, and the place was full at tip-off. So that was good. There was and this is subjective, right? Like I felt like there was a weird energy in the building, but the finals have their own weird energy anyway, because it just the stakes, the tension is always higher. I always feel as an objective non-participant who has no stake in the outcome, every time I walk into a finals arena anywhere I've been for the last, however many finals, it always feels a little weird, Spence. But then you layer on top of it, it's the first game at the Garden, or the first finals game at the Garden in 27 years, and they're up 2-0, and they've got a chance to put a stranglehold on the series, and then you know who is coming, and all the security apparatus is coming with it. We could all see where the bulletproof glass had been installed on the suite, and it just lent a weird other layer of whatever it was on top of it. And then the national anthem starts, and they show him on the screen, and he was 100% roundly, intensely booed. And I think he was fortunate that it was only that and not something a little bit more, profane. They never went there, the fans, but they could have, and I was kind of waiting to see if they would. But he got it pretty good on the boos, and they immediately shifted the cameras on the scoreboard to, I think, Jalen Brunson to wash that away. And then, the Spurs came out pretty hard and pretty hot, as they have been in this series. And while it was loud last night, I don't think it's even as loud as I've heard it in this postseason. I think people were, for whatever reason, the basketball, the outcome, the tenor of the game, it was not the most intense I've ever heard the Garden.
So, look, this is a sports talk radio show, but because he showed up like he does, he puts himself in the middle of everything. Look, if I'm a diehard Knick fan living in New York City, and certainly the people that have been cheering for this team for 5+ decades and haven't seen a title since the 70s, keep him out of MSG tomorrow night, right? I mean, do you have any idea if he will be there tomorrow night?
I think the reports are that he's not coming tomorrow. I know that he had teased the possibility even before Game 3 that he might do both games. I think it'd be insane to do it again. And I think if that was going to be the case, we and the media would have been notified, and the fans would have been notified for that matter, because with 24 hours, to go, you kind of need to know what you're bracing for. And as far as I know, we are back to normal routine tomorrow. So I don't think he's showing up again. I think whatever it was he set out to accomplish, I guess he accomplished it. He came to an NBA Finals game, fell asleep, left early, got booed. Not in that order, but that's about the short version of it. And look, you can blame Jim Dolan too for inviting him. Maybe he would have come regardless, but he didn't need to be there. It was pointless. It accomplished nothing. It did bring a lot more difficulty for fans, for New Yorkers in general, a little bit of chaos, a weird vibe. People want to blame the loss on it and the bad karma and whatever. I totally get it. I don't know if I believe enough in just the universe to believe that that's how these things go, but I don't blame anybody for tying those things together.
I say lean into it. It's all his fault.
Sure.
But let me kick the tires with you about the other dynamic off the court before we dig into some basketball here. And, the Athletic had a piece up today where they interviewed some fans that were at the game, and two fans that were in the upper bowl, like close to the top, paid $11,000 each. Look, capitalism is capitalism, okay? And certainly with that dude who owns the team, it ended up to be a situation where they offered us the chance to buy tickets, and the price point they quote, no way. And my father ran the Garden for 10 years. Like, it's just, I know who this dude is, okay? And so I get that this is the deal, but I think the other thing that has to be brought to the table about the Garden not necessarily sounding like the Garden did when LJ hit his 4-point play against the Pacers in 99, like that crowd, when fully unleashed with Knicks fans in the building, is an absolute ace in the hole. So it's a complicated thing because it's a front-facing, revenue-generating business. I'm a grown-up, I get it, but it just feels like you're pricing so many good Knicks fans that should be there out of the experience.
Yeah, we've seen so many versions of this too, right? Like, I'm from the Bay Area originally, and watching the Warriors move from Oakland to San Francisco, the new building is amazing. The old building was very, very old and outdated, and I totally get it. But the vibe at Oracle Arena in Oakland when the Warriors were winning, a championship and going to the finals there versus the vibe at Chase was very different. And it's not just an Oakland to San Francisco thing and people want to play off those stereotypes of those two cities. It was certainly a socioeconomic thing. And I do think that, every arena in the country where you've had any success that has increased the value of the team and the price of tickets and everything else, this is going to happen. And I don't want to reduce it to like rich people don't cheer as loud as those of us in the other, classes of society. But it kind of feels that way sometimes. And I don't know what to attribute last night's vibe at the Garden to. I will say this, and again, I'm not an engineer. I don't know how acoustics work. But I was at the finals last year in both cities, Oklahoma and Indiana, and I thought my head was going to explode, Spence. It was so loud I couldn't think straight, and it was actually painful at times. I'm not exaggerating. It was intense. And I'm not saying the Garden wasn't loud last night, but my head did not hurt. I never thought I needed I had earplugs with me. I never put them in. Oklahoma, by contrast, where the Spurs were last playing, and I think this is an important point. The Spurs, being an incredibly young team who, are in the finals way before anybody thought they would be, and it's their first experience, but they just played in the most intense, loudest, craziest arena there is in Oklahoma and beat the defending champs. So I don't think, when they have to come in 0-2, having lost their 2 home games, a must-win at the Garden of all places, the Garden would not have intimidated them the way that Oklahoma City did based on the noise.
Fair point. So what adjustments did San Antonio make that you saw as far as what they were able to do last night? Stan Van Gundy, after game 2, I think, talked about the need for Wembanyama to set better screens, because if you want short rolls to get to the rim, you got to hit your guys so you provide a lane. He did that. I think 55% of his shots were at the rim, 8 dunks and layups. And it was a great Wemby.
Well, Wemby, we talk about him as another one of these unicorn-type players, 7'5", but with some guard skills, not just the shooting, but some ball handling. But he's not Kevin Durant. He's not going to just put the ball on the deck and take you off the dribble every time and get past you. He can, and I think that will even get better over time, but he's so tall, he's so long, that gets dicey and you end up losing the ball. And we've seen that in this series, where if he overdoes it on the drive, he loses the ball. It's a turnover, or it's a little too awkward getting to where he's trying to get to. If he settles for the three, he can make those threes, and sometimes he makes really deep threes. And when those hit, they're awesome. But if he's walled off and he feels like that's and I don't want to try to put the ball on the deck and take a chance of a turnover. Feels like that's and I don't want to try to put the ball on the deck and take a chance of a turnover. I'm just going to shoot from 24 feet. It's a little hit and miss still with him there. Clearly the best use of him is that you throw the ball where nobody else can get it, with anywhere within 10 feet of the rim, because he's one stride away. And 15 feet of the rim. He is always one stride away. So that they got him on the move and got him moving toward the basket, getting those lob dunks, I thought was a great way of getting him established. And then he had the early block, and I just thought he got off to a nice rhythm. Felt like they lost that for a while there. Maybe that was the Knicks adjusting and keeping him out of the paint a little bit. But I thought that was the biggest thing for them. And I just thought in general the Spurs were a little bit more mistake-free last night. That's not – mistake-free means no mistakes, but they were they cut down their number of mistakes, turnovers, bad passes, rushed shots. I thought the first 2 games there were just moments where it was like, that's not the shot you want. Guys are getting a little hero ballish at times, and that moved to the other team last night, right? Because I think that's kind of what some of the knock on Brunson and the Knicks were last night. It was that it was a little too much Brunson.
So of course, even when they went up 2-0, because I picked San Antonio in 6. I really was impressed with the first 2 games as far as what I saw from New York, and I did think a lot of it was sustainable. But down the stretch, it's a lot of Jalen, and it works a lot because he's really good, and he's really good in those moments. But if they're going to win this series, you can't rely on – like the Josh Hart game was amazing, but you call it the Josh Hart game because nobody really saw that coming. I don't think he's going to be able to do that night in and night out. And obviously, you dance with a partner that you brought. I get it. And Jalen is that good. But I feel like down the stretch, there is this tendency when you have one guy – that is the main impetus for your offensive attack, for some of the other players to stand around a little bit and say, okay, Jalen, save us. I feel like if the Knicks are going to get 2 more, they probably have to mix it up a little bit down the stretch, yeah?
Yeah, it's interesting with the Knicks. To an extent, the game plan with the Knicks, or the formula for winning is, you know what, just keep it close because Jalen's going to hit all the clutch shots down the stretch and the other team is going to just have to try to catch up. We're going to be more confident in our guy being one of the most clutch players in the league than the other team is. And that works a lot. And, whether that was the massive comeback in game 1 against Cleveland or whether that's, some of the other games they've won along the way in the last month and a half or so, and even in this series, it feels like they can play from behind. They can play from even slightly ahead, knowing that Brunson is going to be just absolutely reliable in crunch time. Against this team, it's just different. And one of the thing that has worked so well for the Knicks in this postseason is that they did get Brunson off the ball a little bit more. They did make Cat, this kind of fulcrum of the offense as a playmaker as well as scorer, and Mikal Bridges at times a little bit more involved in the offense than he had been. And I think you have to do that. Like, you cannot be one-dimensional against an elite defensive team, and the Spurs are. Not for nothing, and I picked the Spurs in 6 as well, it's because the Spurs were one of the elite defensive teams this season, period. Not so for Cleveland or Philly or Atlanta, the teams that the Knicks beat to get here and beat handily. This is the best defense they've faced by far. We saw that in the first 2 games, even though the Knicks won those, and we saw it again last night as the Knicks finally lost for the first time in, a month plus. Real quick, Spence, if we've got time, can I run down some stats real quick?
Please do.
Jalen Brunson?
Absolutely.
Some of my friends who are Knicks fans were very mad at me for saying Spurs in 6, and based on this premise. And my premise was this: Jalen Brunson is going to have a much harder time scoring against this defense, not just because of Wemby as the ultimate, shot, not just shot blocker, but shot, deterrer, because you don't want to go anywhere near him, but because they've got all these guards with size. Stephon Castle's a great defender. Dylan Harper's an excellent defender. Vassell even is a pretty good defender. They've got all these guys to throw at him. There's nobody easy for him to pick on offensively, but at the same time, they've just got so much length and great defense. So here are the numbers. Jalen Brunson, scoring-wise, fine. 26 points average against the Hawks, and then it was 29 against the Sixers, 25 against the Cavs, 27 against the Spurs. That sounds consistent, but it's when you start to drill down. His effective field goal percentage, that's combining twos and threes, 52% against Atlanta, 59 against Philly, 51 against Cleveland, 41 against the Spurs. His effective field goal percentage is way, way down. And if you want to go just on like 2-point shots, because 3-point variance is a little higher, he's shooting 39% on twos right now in this series. He shot 60% on twos against the Cavaliers and 55 and 50% in the other two series. His efficiency is way down. His assists are down. His turnovers are up. This is the lowest assists and highest turnovers per game in any series this postseason for him. So he has been he just had a much tougher time doing everything. And, you know, that's why we say, and, you know, Becky Hammond is still getting drilled for this, for having made the comment a couple of years ago. It's hard to lead a team to a championship with a smaller guard. And especially when you're facing a defense like this with a lot of size and strength.
So Mike Brown, certainly in his feelings after the game, and I'll tell you from a consumer standpoint, the second half was rough because of all of the reviews and all of the parading of the free throw line. 37 free throw attempts. Let's see. No, there you go. 22 free throw attempts for New York, and then 32 for San Antonio, a 10 free throw discrepancy, which isn't huge. And I'm trying to take the fan hat off. There were some rough calls for sure. But is there any meat on that bone, Mike Brown and his complaints after the game?
It's interesting because, you know, I didn't see the TNT, it's not TNT anymore, but the TNT crew inside the NBA crew post-game show. But my daughter was telling me that they all unanimously did not like Mike Brown going down that road. And these are not guys who are shy, you know, about criticizing officiating or, I mean, heck, criticizing it in their own time as players with Shaq and Chuck and Draymond and Kenny. Like, so that they seemed to find that the wrong play, whether that was strategic, because, you know, NBA coaches like to try to work the refs in the playoffs and the finals, or whether that was just genuine and Mike Brown was just really that frustrated. Like, yeah, I get it. There are a couple calls, and like, this is the problem with the era we live in now, Spence, is that you can go on social media and just find like reel after reel of fans complaining or spinning conspiracies and zoning in on a couple of different plays. Monty McCutcheon was already on ESPN today admitting that they missed the you know, Wemby mushing Jalen Brunson. Like, that's a pretty obvious one. They're still reviewing to see whether they're going to give him a retroactive flagrant. But like, that's not the whole game. And you know, like the Knicks did not execute well. They did get stagnant. That's not because of foul calls. They did have chances to win down the stretch, and they just didn't. And it wasn't calls that prevented it. So dwelling on free throw discrepancies or foul discrepancies, real or perceived, it just never goes well. And, you know, the other team can almost always, you know, point to a bunch of stuff that didn't go their way either, but that wasn't highlighted because they happened to win. And because some of the most glaring stuff seem to be on the Knicks side of it. So it's not that there's not potentially some legitimacy to what he's saying. I just don't know that it's the best look or the most effective presentation.
So I know you're not a big prediction guy, even though you told me who you picked, and I did the same. Have the first three games, just generally speaking, changed your opinion about how you think it could play out?
I mean, when the Knicks win the first two games, in San Antonio, like, I mean, which doesn't, it's only happened, I think, two other times in the finals where the road team won the first two games, and it very rarely happens in any other round either. Winning the first two games on the road is usually an indicator that, you know, the road team is, you know, in that sense, in that case, is going to end up winning the series. Like, it's hard to come back from that. And so after the first two games, I thought, well, you know what? Maybe this is it. Maybe they were in over their heads. Maybe, you know, look, it's amazing they got here at all, but the Knicks are been together longer. They're more polished. They're more veteran. Maybe the Spurs aren't ready for this. But even that said, like, they could have won those first two games. They had double-digit leads in both of those games, I believe. They had a catastrophic mistake down the stretch of game 2 where Wemby threw the pass off the back of Stephon Castle, and who knows how that game goes otherwise. And then the resiliency and the toughness that they showed to be able to win last night amid everything on the road at the Garden, the first finals game at the Garden in 27 years, to me, as somebody who thought the Spurs had a very good chance to win this series, my faith in them is somewhat restored. But if they lose tomorrow night, now they're facing elimination Saturday. And I'm not – this is why I don't try to predict game to game. Like, we are asked sometimes to predict a series, and you make your best stab at it. But game to game, you just never know. Like, they could win it in 6, and you and I can both go, we were right, Spurs in 6. But we would have never, ever, ever thought it was going to be lose the first 2, win the next 4 in a row. That's insane. I think I saw the Lakers do that to the Spurs once my last year on the beat back in 2004. But it doesn't happen that often. And when a team goes down 0-2, especially if they go down 0-2 at home, you don't expect them to come back.
Well, all of us probably just cheering for more games because that makes it fun. But, Howard, I appreciate your time and appreciate you adjusting for us today. Have a good week and enjoy the game tomorrow, okay?
Thanks, Spence. You too. Talk to you next week.
It's our buddy Howard Beck from The Ringer. Get him on social media. He hosts a great podcast with former jazzman Raja Bell called The Real Ones, and some great NBA writing up on theringer.com. Want to let you know the Ron McBride Foundation presents The Head and the Heart Saturday, August 22nd in the Utah State Fair Park. Get your tickets and all the info at espnsports.com. Text HEART right now to 33986 for your chance to score a pair of tickets. All right, 1 hour down, 3 hours to go. My buddy Gordon Monson's live in studio coming up next on ESPN 700. Brendan Sorsby now has his trial date set. A Texas court scheduled the date. It's Sorsby against the NCAA for February 8th, 2027, which, breaking news, is 2 weeks after the College Football National Championship game, which this year is at Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas. So Texas Tech has their quarterback. Gordon Monson joins me live in studio, my buddy from our old show with the Salt Lake Tribune. Gordon, happy Tuesday. It's a beautiful day. How are you, sir?
You want to bet?
Well, we're allowed to now, apparently.
I didn't know that was a thing.
Well, look, you've lived some life. That's what I like about you. You've got some experience.
I do.
That's not an indelicate way of calling you old.
Yeah.
Help me understand this, because Pete Rose literally had to die before baseball forgave him. Anytime any athlete or coach or official, anyone involved in a game in the history of competition, in the history of sports, has been summarily dismissed and has never been allowed to come back. This kid bet on his own team 40 times. I don't care if he was playing at Indiana. He was in meetings. He had inside information. He used sports book accounts from his friends and family members and reportedly placed bets to the tune of $90,000. Okay? So Noah Shannon, who's a D tackle from Iowa, was kicked out of college football because he placed one legal bet on the school's women's basketball team believed to be less than $100. What are we doing here?
This is what you call judge roulette.
Yep.
I think. Look, in every pro locker room and clubhouse that I think I've ever been in, there is a sign saying, "Thou shalt not place bets." It is the one thing in sports. I mean, look, as crazy as the sports world is, as goofed up as different systems are and processes, I get all that. But the one thing they cannot tolerate is that kind of question of the integrity of the sport. And when you do that, man, you're just asking for huge trouble. And I'm not sure I understand this ruling completely, or this, whatever you call it. Is it a stay or an injunction, or what is it?
It's an injunction that Jeffrey Kessler, his attorney, who is a master at his craft, was able to find, and maybe he was able to find the right judge in Texas, where Texas Tech plays football.
Exactly. But I am really surprised by that. I just didn't think there was any way this kind of thing would happen, because of the very thing. It touches the nerve, Spence, the very nerve of competitive sports at any level. Any level. You just can't have it. And so I don't know what this judge is thinking.
So really what this comes down to, and there has been, a ton of reaction. Mark Harlan, athletic director for the University of Utah, sent out a social media post that said, quote, "As with many around the country, I'm disheartened by the injunction issued today in the Brendan Sorsby matter, which will allow him to compete this fall despite clear violations of NCAA policies and ethical guidelines. We are committed to supporting student-athlete well-being, but we also must have a definitive path forward that preserves the most basic tenets of competitive integrity in our industry," which I think is a pretty on-point statement, because, and again, this is where I want you and your experience to kind of help us out a little bit. I've always been under the impression that the biggest fear governing bodies in sport have are their consumers questioning whether or not what they are watching is real.
Exactly.
And that's what this does. Yep. Like, Sorsby had a bad game against Utah last year, or did he? Mm-hmm. That's the type of stuff that people are going to be asking now, When
you bring that question into the room, Spence, now everything is in the air. And people already are suspicious of this. How many times have you and I heard that the NBA is rigged?
Yeah.
That they want the Knicks to win, that they want the big market teams to win. Why? Because they make more money that way. And so now you're throwing fuel on that fire that just is not needed. I've never heard of anything like this being excused or, enabled in any way. So, I mean, this is really shocking to me. And I can understand, I think Mark said it well there. And I'm sure that's the reaction of most of the people who are connected to sports. Because what does it do now, Spence? It opens up that door for all kinds of shenanigans to go on. And in my experience, I've never seen anything like this. This is different than everything I have ever seen. And we have had cases of, a college defensive back, I think at Boston College, betting on things and then getting in trouble for it, and many others. You mentioned Pete Rose. That was an ongoing sore for a long, long time. I remember a story Rick Riley told about Pete Rose. He said he was following him around, doing him a story on him, and they came to his house, and Rick said that Pete's wife opened the door, and he said she was dressed beautifully, a beautiful woman, and she went to hug Pete, and Pete kind of just pushed her away and went running into the TV den to check hockey scores. And Rick said he remembers thinking, wow, this guy really loves hockey.
Jeez.
Little did he know that there's a little more going on than just that.
Well, apparently he loved spring training because after practice was over, he could run over to the horse track and then run over to the dog. Like, he was a degenerate gambler.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So,
and this is, I did a story on this when I was in L.A. about gambling at all different levels. But it talked about I got into the compulsive gambling, and that's a real problem for a percentage of the population.
Yeah,
I mean, they destroy their lives sometimes. They put their house up, but their mortgage, their ability, their paychecks, all kinds of things that can do damage. Look, I have no problem with people gambling if that's what they want to do, as long as they don't play for a team. And And if you want to go down to Vegas or somewhere else, or you have a bookie or something, they want to have a little fun, okay, fine, do what you're going to do. But do not pull the game, the integrity of the game into question. Because, as I said, sports, it's funny, Spence. I don't know if you've probably given this a lot of thought, but sports sort of dances on this balance beam. And right now it's been fortunate. There have been so many good things that have happened that have been good for the game, good for the fans, some things that are bad for the fans, some things that are not so good for the game. But they teeter. They constantly teeter. And when you're teetering like that, this is the last thing you need, because it's like, Spence, I can see you're up on the balance beam, and then somebody comes along and lassos your right foot, and starts pulling you over this way. What are you going to be able to do? You're not going to be able to do what you need to do. And that's what this does. It's puzzling.
I should mention that he's getting a 2-game suspension to start the year.
Oh, good. Who are they playing?
Abilene Christian and Oregon State. They're going to win by 1 million. No matter, you could play quarterback for them and they'd win, Gordon. So he will miss. He will miss their non-con, but he will be back for the Big 12 opener against Houston. They have 3 non-con games. For some reason, they have Houston before their final non-con game. So Abilene Christian and Oregon State are the 2 games Brendan Sorsby will miss. But when I heard the news yesterday, I was actually sad. I was disheartened. And I was thinking about it through the prism of this. As we move into every different, evolution of humanity, and society's changing with technologies here or there, it's hard to know what's real. Right? And everybody has a conspiracy theory about everything now, because social media has given voice to bad actors that are trying to just make money based off of clicks, and they don't care if they're telling the truth. It's like, you're engaging with this, I'm going to keep leaning into it. Whether or not it's real, it doesn't matter. If you're interested in it, I'm going to talk about it, whether or not I believe it. And that's kind of what podcasters do. That's what these Joe Rogan, Manosphere bros like to do. The political landscape is a cesspool. What's real there? Bad actors making money hand over fist, doing things that are definitely unethical and should be illegal. And everyone just turns a blind eye to it. You're watching reality TV, that scripted crap that is basically taking your attention away from things that you should probably be doing other than that. Sports is supposed to be different. We are supposed to sit down and watch a game or attend a game and watch the very definition of a meritocracy, where humans are doing human things and competing against each other. It is the ultimate in live theater. And if this space gets compromised, maybe I'm on my high horse here. What's left? I
agree with you completely. Here's one thing that should be real, Spence, and this is something you hear a lot of talk of across the spectrum now: rule of law. if you lose the rule of law, and we've seen some instances of that on all kinds of different levels.
Yep.
But if you lose that, then you lose. You lose. And in sports, you got to have rules. I believe in justice. I hate it when I find out that someone is cheating and winning. One of the things, and you and I, we've been aware of Jim Rome for years. But one of the things I hated that he said, if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. I hate that. And they say cheaters never win. Well, I guess they do sometimes, and that's unfortunate. That bothers me. And that bothered me as a kid when I was involved in youth sports.
Mm-hmm.
If I saw somebody who was doing something, fouling on purpose and not being caught for it, and that's affecting the game, I mean, like an offensive lineman that's purposely holding because his coaches have taught him to do that, I mean, that just ain't right.
Mm-hmm.
And I know some things are difficult to sort of sort through. I mean, what is holding? I'm not sure I even know after watching football for a long time. But there are some rules that are pretty black and white, and this is one of them. And to me, you're opening Pandora's box even more, and it's going to do nothing. I think coaches and institutions and teams will rue the day of this ruling.
Yeah. A lot of conversation about Georgia sent out a memo to their staffers saying we will not schedule Texas Tech. Mm. Do you think the Big 12 needs to look at this and say, okay, if you're gonna ride with this kid, and look, I also want to be very clear. People are redeemable, and mental health is a real thing, and we do have plenty of data at our disposal about what winning a sports bet does to your dopamine. It spikes it just the same way heroin does. Mm-hmm. So I want to be sensitive to these areas that are certainly part of this conversation. But an entire sport could potentially be compromised because of the actions of one person. And I think that needs to be taken seriously. I don't know if boycotting Texas Tech for the Big 12 is the right move. But what are your thoughts on what the member institutions and the folks in charge, the Brett Yormarks of the world, need to do to react to this outside of releasing statements?
I think it would be good for them to make a ruling. And I don't know how that would go down legally. I'm not an attorney. But it seems to me like, it's funny because this is a really gifted quarterback. And it's a guy who can help Texas Tech win games. But you have to ask yourself, Spence, the very question that you just raised. Is it worth it? Is it worth it for them to play this kid? I don't know. I wonder what radio in Lubbock is like right now. What are people saying about this? Because I bet there are people who are split on it, even those who root hard for the Red Raiders. It just seems off to me. And I think Texas Tech is going to pay a price for this if they do play the kid, regardless of whether he wins games or not. I tell you, I bet there will be a whole lot of people like the folks in Georgia who will root against that team and hope for its demise.
Well, and you referenced something just a minute ago, and if we're going to be grown-ups about this, college football has always been kind of ruled by people that have been able to circumvent some rules to pay some money under the table, to get a quarterback from Texas to sign with. This is a sport that has been rooted in dishonesty. This is a sport that has been rooted in finding creative ways to get around certain things to make players eligible despite not going to class, or find way to get money to a handler to get the player to those things have always happened, and they still happen. Tampering in the transfer portal to get a player from Utah to go to BYU or vice versa. Tampering when you're not supposed to be talking to players. The big thing around here is like contacting players on their mission. I'm a grown up. I understand things like that happen. And if there's nobody to enforce the rules, which what this message sends once again is there is nobody to enforce the rules. I mean, what this ruling has done is actually galvanize people with the NCAA, which never happens. But there's nobody in place to enforce any sort of ruling. And if there's nobody in place to enforce any sort of ruling, rules will be broken at a record level. So while cheating has kind of always been part of the DNA of college football and finding creative ways to do this or that, this to me is the next level of that. And I just feel like at some point we have to rip the Band-Aid off and admit what this sport has become, and that is essentially NFL 2.0.
Yeah, and that's unfortunate because it'll never be as good as the NFL,
right?
Talent-wise,
right.
So it's sort of diminishing in a lot of ways. So I think you bring up a great point. Is college football the dirtiest of all sports?
Man, as you know, as an expert, international soccer has a case to be made for all of the,
Yeah, but don't touch the beautiful game.
Oh, no, we'll get there. The World Cup's on its way. We're going to go group by group. I got to get your pick group by group. College football, I don't know if it's the dirtiest sport. It's as dirty as any sport because there are so many bad actors that middlemen, handlers of students that usually are like rogue uncles or something. Give me $20K so you can talk to my nephew, and schools willing to do that. And then, look, schools to deep pockets. Cody Campbell spent a lot of time and money on this endeavor to try to get this kid eligible. It's gross. It feels gross, and it just undermines what's supposed to be awesome about this sacred space of sport. And I'm sorry to sound like I'm at this point maybe being a little bit hyperbolic about how sanctity competition is, but you're supposed to sit down and watch a game and believe you're watching the best of human competition.
Amen, brother. The other thing about it is it's juxtapositioned against higher education.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, that's what makes it even dirtier, doesn't it?
Yeah.
There are school presidents all around the country who know about these things, and they're supposed to be teaching the youth of America not just how to make money, but also how to live well. And there you have that on this side, and then you got this going on over here in the football department. I love college football. I love college basketball, but sometimes I think the whole endeavor is misplaced.
Mm-hmm.
For all the reasons that you just articulated.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, in pro sport, like in the NFL, how much cheating goes on in the NFL? I'm sure there's some here and there, but not like this.
Not that we're aware of. I mean, there's just been – I just don't know what the breaking point is going to be. Congress is trying to bring this bill to the table to try to enforce something or other, and the Big Ten and the SEC don't like it because it doesn't give them the ability to pool their own media rights to make more money over this way. And I understand we're a country built on capitalism. I get it. There's no going back, okay? People that try to fight against it, there's no way we're deconstructing the way our country was built at this point. But at some point, enough has to be enough. Because
is a reform possible?
The only thing I have said this probably 200 times, if not more, over the past 6 years, that when NIL became a reality and the transfer portal became a reality, it's college football jargon for what they already do in the pros, which is free agency and paying their employees. Okay, now you're doing that. You're just calling it something different, okay? And yes, there's the 20.5 mil rev share, whatever, that you can use to pay the players directly from the institution, and NIL is on top of that, but they do that in pro sports too. Players have agents, and they go out and they push products, and they get paid. That's the pro sports NIL.
Well, there are a couple of Utah Jazz players that might have had car dealerships.
Yes, that's so.
Salary cap.
What I was going to say is exactly what I've said for 6 years. Read the writing on the wall. Part of leadership is seen around corners. Figure out the complication of collective bargaining. Let the players unionize and form a league. Because until you have somebody that can oversee your product, you're going to find more ways to break rules because the rules aren't enforced. If I told you right now, Gordon, there's a way that you can do something that's slightly unethical, but it's going to profit you and your family millions and millions of dollars, you're not going to get caught for it. Everyone's looking the other way. Most people are going to do that. They just are.
Is this an episode of Breaking Bad?
I could see you as Walter White. I could see you cooking up some meth at home.
The problem with what you described over the last 6 years, before that came into play, remember when athletes at schools couldn't transfer without the permission of their coach?
Mm-hmm.
Or if they did transfer, they had to sit out an extra year? I mean, it went from the coaches controlling darn near everything to now, and that was a problem. I had a problem with that. I thought that was unfair to some extent. What was that movie with the kid who went to Colorado State to play basketball?
Oh, holy throwback.
What was that movie?
I know. I'll find it. I can't remember. Yeah.
Was it Bobby or Billy or somebody? Anyway, when I saw that, I thought, that might be a bit of an exaggeration, but some coaches do that. Athletes come in and they find out that the coach was singing a sweet song beforehand, and now they're an absolute beep boop, and then they got to deal with that, or what are their options? So that wasn't the best thing, but now it's swung so far the other way that guys are constantly looking for the better paycheck, the better circumstances for them. The hell with the team.
Yeah. It wasn't the air up there, was it? I'm just kidding.
Wasn't the air up there.
Teen Wolf. Just kidding.
No.
There's Blue Chips.
No, it wasn't Blue Chips.
It's old, right? Like
yeah,
that's right.
70s.
Okay. I'll look it up.
Oh man, we got to figure that out.
What was the name of the school again?
It was filmed at Colorado State.
It was filmed at Colorado State.
Yeah, it was filmed at Moby, the old gym there. But what was that kid's name? I could see
One-on-one.
Is that it?
Robbie Benson.
Benson.
That's right. One-on-one. But back to this. Look, it's not a simple solution. But the issue we've run into, the Supreme Court said to the NCAA, "You are a serial antitrust violator. Go figure it out." And then they came back like, "Hey, we're trying. We can't enforce anything." And they're like, "Guess what? You can't. Go figure it out. You can't. There is nobody in place to enforce any sort of rule. There's technically a rule on the books against transferring. I think it was Mandel who wrote a piece on like, hey, the solution is actually in place. It's follow the freaking rules. But if there's nobody in charge to enforce the rules on the books, people are not going to follow the rules."
What is the rule? Do you remember?
I think the rule on the book remains as far as the ability to transfer one time. I mean, the letter of the law, I think, is there, but there's nobody to enforce it. And what's happening now, Diego Pavia suing for his JUCO year back, or the Chambliss kid. Like all these players do through their agents is they find a lawyer and then they find a district judge who's going to give them what they want. Then they go to that district and file. It's what Sorsby did. Crazy. In Lubbock, Texas, you found a judge that's going to let you play. No kidding.
You're probably wearing red and black.
But the bottom line, Gordon, remains. Because you're talking about, how do we stop the players from transferring here or there? How do we stop the amount of money that they can make? I don't know. How does the NBA do it? How does the NFL do it? The players have a union. They have player reps in the union. Then they have people that run the union. And then they have people that are behind, the endeavors that are good for the players. And then on the other side, you have the commissioners and the board of governors that own the teams and run the leagues, and they negotiate and they sign contracts. How do you get players not to transfer? They sign contracts. Then you enforce the contracts. And it could be, hey, sign a 2-year deal. And if you're good enough to go to the NFL, 3rd-year option, you go pro, whatever. But at least they're here for a couple of years because they signed a contract. Oh, wait a second. Well, Texas Tech can pay more money than Utah. Oh, I don't know. Create a salary cap system where everybody has the same amount of money to spend on players.
Even then, it'll be cheated,
But at least there's something in place so that if something happens like Brendan Sorsby betting on his own team, there are bylaws in place to say you violated this. You are not allowed to play in our league because we're not beholden to the courts, because we have people in place that will enforce the rules.
Suppose I'm just picturing this in my mind, Spence. That courthouse, the judge rides up on a black horse, jumps out, dressed in black, the cape, the hat.
Is it the Tech mascot?
And, who knows? Maybe.
You remember Flubber?
Yeah.
I have a list of basketball moves in front of me. Flubber. The absent-minded professor.
The players are jumping up over the rafters in the gym with the super buoyant.
I always found it weird that it was only white guys jumping higher because of the Flubber all of a sudden. The bros didn't need it. The brothers don't need it. The white guys need the Flubber.
I saw that when I was probably 7.
1961.
Yeah, well, I was 4.
Okay, all right. Anyway, look.
What other movies you got on there?
Hoosiers?
That's classic. Although I never could really buy the romance between Gene Hackman and Barbara, whatever her name is.
Hershey.
Yeah, I mean, that was the part of that movie that I thought, all right, what's really going on here? You know?
Coach stays.
Oh man,
White Men Can't Jump. Speaking of flubber and white dudes, Wesley Snipes, Woody Harrelson.
yeah.
Underrated basketball movie, Amazing Grace and Chuck, starring Denver Nuggets superstar Alex English.
Never saw that.
That was an excellent one.
Was it?
Maybe
What was the one Ostertag was in?
I don't know. Oh,
Is
with
the
Whoopi
Celtics?
Goldberg. Wasn't Whoopi Goldberg in that movie? I think it was about the Knicks, wasn't it? Was it Celtic Pride?
Maybe it was.
I'll have to look it
Speaking
up.
of Ostertag, you hear he got elected mayor?
What?
He got elected mayor in his hometown in Texas.
Remember when he told you that he named his dumbest donkey after you?
Yeah,
That's kind of rude.
It's sort of stuck with me.
Porter, best basketball movie of all time. Your favorite basketball movie of all time.
Like Mike.
Oh,
Like Mike was not a movie.
what was it?
It was like
There was a movie
maybe it was a movie. Yeah, I think it
with
was.
Lil Bow Wow.
Shout out Lil Bow Wow.
Wait, what was the one with the cartoon with Michael Jordan?
Space Jam.
Space Jam.
Yeah.
When somebody looked down at Larry Bird and said he's not white, he's clear.
Yes, good memory, Gordon. Semi-pro, Will Ferrell. Corn dogs, Jackie. Corn dogs.
Spence, you are the first name that comes to mind of a guy who would go see any basketball movie.
Yeah, especially when I was younger. I loved them. And I still like Hoosiers. I still believe it aged well.
How about High School Musical?
It's not a basketball movie.
They're playing basketball in
This
there.
High School Musical is not a basketball movie.
Zach Efron's, he's on the basketball team.
Just because there's one storyline about 5 minutes long, the basketball's involved, doesn't make it a basketball movie. Wasn't that filmed at East High?
I think it was. Yeah.
Shout out.
In fact, I knew the woman who was the principal at East High when that was being filmed.
Is that why you brought it up, so you could brag about knowing the principal?
Actually, no, it just came to mind as you were talking about it. What's the worst basketball movie, though? I mean, absolute dregs of all sports movies.
You know which? See, and Porter and I have talked about this. This is a me problem. Actors do not know how to play basketball or throw a football. Like
that kid in Hoosiers, that kid could shoot.
Well, that's what made Hoosiers good because they had some basketball players in it.
What was his name?
Jimmy Chitwood. Jimmy Chitwood could shoot it. Coach Carter. I hated Coach Carter because you had like Channing Tatum there, like trying to play basketball. Like if you have a basketball movie with actors that don't know how to play, I will intensely judge the basketball scenes. I'm like, travel, that's not allowed. Double dribble, not real.
Wait, you're officiating the movie?
I'm judging the basketball scenes. Like the football movie with Paul Walker. Rest in peace, Paul Walker. He was the starting quarterback, and Mox, my guy Mox, was the backup. Billy Bob was the offensive lineman. Why can't I think of the name of the movie? Varsity Blues.
There you go.
Varsity Blues was a good football movie. It was a corny, cheesy side love story, but the football scenes were actually football players, and they brought in coaches and like refs to actually have football scenes.
What was the one where the donkey kicked the field goals?
Gus. It's called Gus. That's the name of the movie.
The best actor I ever saw in a sports movie, well, the movie was Unnecessary Roughness.
Is that Pacino?
No, the actor, what I was thinking it was Kathy Ireland, but
Oh, Kathy Ireland had a minute.
I think she was in that movie, wasn't she?
It's not ringing a bell. But yeah, if I'm watching a sports movie, I will intensely judge the sports scenes.
Yeah. What about golf movies though? You know where the swing, Chevy Chase in
Caddyshack.
I mean, he's not a golfer, right?
You do drugs, Danny? Yes. Good. Did you see the documentary on Chevy Chase, by the way? Apparently, he's a total jerk.
That's what I hear. Yep.
It's too bad.
That movie. I mean, have you gone back and watched that?
Caddyshack?
Yeah.
Not recently.
How is it holding up?
I was told it does not hold up.
Really?
I haven't seen it in a long time.
Well, when Chevy Chase is telling Bill Murray that he shouldn't swim in a pool, he should be in a pond.
That's right. Was it the Rodney Dangerfield? Was like, do you get a bowl of soup with that hat? Was that Rodney Dangerfield?
No, but it looks good on you.
Did you ever see Varsity Blues?
I think I did. I don't remember the plot line.
James Vanderbeek, rest in peace. Paul Walker, rest in peace. Allie Larder, John Voight, the angry. You kind of remind me. You have a little John Voight energy, and
Really?
yeah.
Oh man, I don't like his politics.
But I mean, as far as like the tendency of being a little grumpy from time to time.
Thanks a lot.
It's a good movie though. Allie Larder, shout out Allie. Amy Smart, lovely young lady. But James Vanderbeek. Playing quarterback at West Canaan might have been the best years of your life, but I don't want your life. That was the most intense scene. He's talking to his father.
What about the movie with the running back at Syracuse who was so good? You know the one I'm talking about? What was that called?
I don't remember. Porter, just so you know, this was our radio show for 7 years. How do you think you would have handled producing this on a daily basis?
I love it.
It's chaos.
He would have marched out. Probably, I don't know. I mean, these are the things guys talk about when they're sitting around the living room, the TV den, or the bar, or wherever you talk with your buddies about things. These things just sort of come up.
Speaking of being with your buddies at a bar, I was with my guy Gordon at a bar last week.
Yeah, that was fun.
Fish out of water. Did you feel okay?
No, I loved it.
Okay.
No,
all right.
Those are my people.
Bar people?
Well, I mean, look around. I mean, you were petting the dogs?
Dogs everywhere. That was fun.
One dog was growling, wasn't he? Or barking?
At Brickyard, he started to bark. Yeah. But one came down, and shout out Kevin Reynolds. We were there to say goodbye to Kev.
Yep, we were.
From the Salt Lake Tribune.
Yep.
All right, we do have to catch a break, and we will do that here. But before we do, I got to tell you about a new sponsor on the show, Game Day Men's Health. So here's the deal. I love talking about Game Day Men's Health because I've been working with them for almost 3 years. It'll be 3 years in August. So just a little backstory. It's June now, so you have 6 months of data at your disposal as far as your New Year's resolution of getting back into shape, losing weight, or getting into better shape. I set the goal 3 years ago, and then after a couple of months of changing habits, exercising consistently, I was disappointed with the lack of progress I was making. And I had a friend ask me if I'd ever supplemented testosterone before, which I had not. So he recommended Game Day Men's Health, and I went through their process. And after a couple of months working with them, I was in the best shape that I've been in as an adult. But the good news is almost 3 years later, I've maintained it. Okay. They're giving you the very same deal they give me, which is this. Number one, free consultation. You should go do that no matter what, regardless, because it is free. It doesn't take a lot of time and there's no obligation. So the consultation, you go to GameDayMen'sHealth.com right now, schedule your consultation. Cottonwood Heights or Bountiful. It is free. They're going to take a little bit of blood, and then they're going to go over your levels with you to tell you, okay, here's where you're doing well. Here's where maybe you could use some improvement. For me, that was supplementing testosterone and then utilizing some of their peptides. Okay, so again, free, no obligation. That's your free consultation. But here's the kicker. If you decide to go through it and you go through their process, they're giving you 50% off your entire year membership, which makes this stuff very affordable. They track your progress. I go in every 3 months for blood work. Then we adjust what I take. And they ride with you throughout the entire thing. If you want to lose weight, get back in shape, or get into better shape, you got to take advantage of this program. GameDayMen'sHealth.com is where you go. All right, more with Gordon coming up next on ESPN 700. All right, we have a very strange update. College buddy of mine, Ryan, thank you for the text, wanted to let us know that the player who was kicked off Hoosiers, you know that early scene when Hackman's like, 4 passes before you shoot. 4 passes before you shoot. And homeboy, who was a good shooter, just got the ball and shot it from the top of the key twice. And his dad was like, you show him, bud. And then he essentially got kicked off the team. He took a little Ollie with him. Ollie made his return, made 2 underhand free throws later on. Real thing. The actor is named Steve Holler. Not acting anymore. Little update on our guy Steve. As I looked up Steve's name, the first thing that popped up was Warsaw dentist charged with confinement felony.
Wait a minute. I don't want to go to a dentist who's a crook.
So our guy Steve Warsaw, who was in Hoosiers, exited the acting career, went to dental school, and apparently kidnapped one of his female employees and has been charged with a level 6 felony. So there's your update on Steve Holler.
Oh, it got worse and worse.
Random stuff. You watching the NBA Finals at all?
A little bit here and there.
All
you
right.
know, Trump cursed the Knicks last night. I thought you might be upset about that.
Well, the tremendous irony in what happened last night, because Connor was there. My son went, and
really?
my brother Ben was there. And
Did he have to go through like miles of security?
And I had 4 high school friends there. And so I'm watching on TV, and as someone who was at the Garden during the 90s and finals games, I was like, it sounds okay, but it doesn't sound like the Garden should sound for the first NBA Finals in 27 years and trying to win a championship for the first time in 53 years. So I'm texting with all of them. Like, what's it like there? Adjectives were strange, weird.
Why?
Because they all had to wait 2.5 hours to go through security to get in.
Mm-hmm.
Cheapest ticket was like $7,000.
Oh, wow.
There's a great story up on The Athletic today where an athletic writer, I should give her credit here, went to the upper deck and talked to a bunch of Knick fans. How much did you pay? What's the experience like?
Cheap seats.
So they priced a bunch of fans out of the building. So it's just a bunch of the elite 1%, better known as the Gordon Monsons in the state of Utah, hanging out of the game. And then the description I received is everybody is tired because it took so long to get through security.
Wow.
That the irony in all of this, and I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow night, but Jim Dolan, who plays kazoo in his band, he plays a kazoo in his stupid band, JD and the Straight Shot, real thing.
Your love affair with him goes on.
Who's the owner of the Knicks, invited Donald Trump to the game. And look, there are people going as far as to blame the Knicks' loss on Trump. That's like a little aggressive to me, like maybe make more shots and play better defense. But the Garden crowd should be an ace in the hole for an NBA Finals game. And the fact of the matter is it wasn't. If Jim Dolan costs his team the championship because of his malfeasance and his moronic actions, that would be like a chef's kiss.
That would be like 100th on the list, right? Of his list.
Yes. He doesn't even seem to enjoy it. Like, just go play kazoo in your dopey band and build more spheres or whatever. Leave us alone.
Do you think some owners just do it for the recognition? They do it for the ego?
Yes, I am quite sure. Because, you know, the backstory, Chuck Dolan, Charles Dolan, Jim's father, brought cable television to the Northeast and made a grip of money. So as the story goes, he did not want to just give his children, you know, a bunch of wealth right out of the gates. He wanted them to like run a business or work. So he said, I will invest in a business for you. I will help you start something. What do you guys want to do? And as the story goes, Jimmy said, I want the Garden. And he freaking bought Madison Square Garden and Radio City Music Hall for Dolan to run.
So he worked his way from the ground up.
And look, Porter, let's take the time to remind Gordon and our audience the official stance of the Drive on nepotism.
Can't have it.
Yep. We're not into it.
Well, I know a guy who had has a very prominent father who his dad had the attitude of, son, if you're going to make it in this world, you got to do it yourself. And that's what he did. I know a guy.
Sounds familiar.
Mm-hmm.
Who is that guy?
I'm talking to him.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, I always get a kick out of like the whole, if I was a trust fund kid, am I doing 4 hours of AM radio every day? My selling pills to help your erections if I was a trust fund kid, like, leave me alone with that, please.
Oh, you'd be owning the Garden.
Well, it would be nice. But anyway, that's the backstory. He doesn't have any of the, like, desire or care factor because he doesn't really care about his teams. He essentially wanted this as his property so he could fit in with other groups. I mean, hell, I remember watching the press conference when they hired Phil Jackson as like the general manager, and Dolan takes the mic and he goes, "Thank you, Irving." He was saying thank you to Irving Azoff, who's the manager of the Eagles, who introduced him to Phil Jackson at a party.
Oh, great.
And Dolan's dopey band actually opened for the Eagles for a while because they didn't have to pay him. They needed an opener. He's like, "We'll do it for free." They're like, "Fine."
What's the name of that band again?
JD and the Straight Shot. Literally forces employees to go see his shows around New York City.
Didn't he used to do really weird things to employees there at the Garden? It seems like he was like blocking people from getting in.
He has facial recognition in the building. Like we were going to go to Game 4. I guarantee, as with the last name Checketts, there'll be a camera on me the entire time. Howard Beck, who we've had on before, used to cover them for the Times. Fake news. And he swears that he's followed every time he's in the. He banned a fan for life who said to him, "Sell the team." That's all he said. Banned him for life.
Wow.
This is a curmudgeon, just horrible human being. By all accounts, the only thing that is a bummer about the Knicks potentially winning it is that he would win a championship as an owner.
Can I tell a Garden story? And
do whatever you want,
this
pal.
is going to make you mad. Just cut off my mic. I know, but it seems to me I also know a guy who was like edging across the floor at the Garden, and there happened to be a very attractive actress who acted interested in him, and he blew her off.
That's not how that went.
Was it? What was her name?
It was Jennifer Love Hewitt.
Jennifer Love Hewitt. Tell the story. I bet you haven't told this story since the last time
I don't think I have. I'll tell a short version of the story. Okay? We're not going to get that far into it.
Well, everybody knows who Jennifer Love Hewitt is, right?
Yeah. Party of Five. Let's see. What is she most known for? Can't Hardly Wait, the movie.
It's a TV show she's been in recently. I don't know.
She was in some scary movie. I don't know. Jennifer Love Hewitt was a big deal back then.
She was sort of a young man's dream girl.
Yes. Yeah, Jennifer Love Hewitt was a big deal. This was All-Star Weekend, Madison Square Garden, I want to say 1999-2000, thereabouts.
Okay.
Photo evidence of this, by the way. I've shown you the photo, I believe.
I think you did.
But it's been a long time since I've been bullied into telling the story, so I don't think this audience knows it. I go back to the All-Star game with a couple of my friends from the U. McKinley, shout out, friend of the show. Garrett Bull's uncle, McKinley Oswald. And we're sitting there watching the All-Star game.
Where were your seats?
Good seats, 9 or 10 rows, something like that.
Okay, all right.
And I look over, and Jennifer Love Hewitt is sitting there with a couple of friends or something, and she's sitting right behind some people in our ward back there.
Okay.
So I'm like, I need to say something.
You need to go say hi to your friends.
I'm like, I can't let this opportunity walk away, without doing something. I don't want this to be the moment that in 50 years I'm like, you never said anything to the girl. So I decided to be that guy.
Okay. How old are you at this point?
21.
Okay. So you're full of sort of spit and vinegar at this time. You're feeling good about yourself.
Yeah, that hasn't changed much. So walk over, and I say hello to the people in my ward, my parents' ward. Hi to them. And then I say to her, just want to let you know I think you are gorgeous. You are beautiful. Enjoy the night.
Oh, you went direct for the compliment.
That's the only way, man.
Okay.
It's the only way. I mean, what am I going to do? Like, ask her for her number? Walk back over to our seats, sit down, and the kid who was in the family from the ward comes running over to us on the other side. And he said, Jennifer Love Hewitt just said you're really cute. And then at that point, my friends are like, dude, go. You got to go. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting there. I'm like, again, it's another call to action. Do I heed the moment? Do I seize the day?
It is your moment in time.
Do I do the thing? Or am I the guy that withers away and never has the opportunity? So
and regrets it for the rest of his life.
So I'm sitting there thinking, like, what do you do? What do you do? What do you do? And then I think end of the third quarter, she gets up with her friends, and I think she was with her publicist, starts walking up the stairs, and my buddies are hitting me at this point. Like, she's leaving, man. This is your chance. So I'm like, come with me. So we walk up the stairs. I walk over to Jennifer Love Hewitt. She turns around, gives me a big smile. I'm like, what I should have said was, hey, I heard you said I was cute or something like that. I said, can we get a picture? And she said, absolutely. So she puts her arms around me, and I'm holding her like this, right?
Okay.
And my buddy McKinley takes a picture, and then she says, wait, one more, let's make it a good one. And she grabs my face, and she kisses me, and McKinley takes the other picture, which I still have at the house.
If that isn't a swinging wide open front door, I don't know what would be.
I know, man. At least I said the thing. At least I did the thing.
And what did you do when she kissed you?
The look on my face, I look, duh. You should see the look on my face. So that's the story.
I mean, Spence, you didn't take the shot.
I feel like I took the shot. I could have just sat there.
You did, but you didn't really let it release it properly.
You know what? Phrase it differently, please. Phrasing.
There wasn't enough backspin on the ball or something.
That's not much better. I guess it's a little better.
I mean, I'm surprised she didn't just flat out ask you out, but she certainly left you with an opportunity to do so.
Well, you don't know what happened after the game.
What did happen?
No, we're going to leave that off air.
What?
We're going to leave that there.
No, there's more to the story.
Maybe. What should the Jazz do in the draft? Who should the Jazz draft?
More to the story. Porter, do you know the rest of the story?
I don't.
Porter, this is literally our radio show for 7 years. Every day. 4 hours every day.
There's punctuation here. It's needed. Was it an exclamation point, or was it a question mark, or was it just sort of an ellipses?
We'll go with ellipses.
Okay.
Who should the Jazz draft?
Whoever's left.
Out of the two?
Yeah. I mean, I agree. I know that's sort of a cliche. And Spence, I'm sure you've given a lot of thought to this, but I just don't see another way. I mean, I'm not a doctor, and I can't really speak to Darren Peterson's health and his prospects for good health. I don't know. I would wonder about that, and I'm sure the Jazz are doing due diligence in this regard to find out what it is, whether it's something that could be recurring or whether it's something that's deeper than just cramps. What is it? I don't know. But if they can get assurances on that end of it, then if AJ goes to Washington, that's the pick. I don't know how you can't do it unless there is extenuating circumstance that I'm not aware of.
As you're watching the NBA playoffs, San Antonio specifically, Oklahoma City as well, if everything goes right for the Jazz, if they are able to get the right player during this draft cycle, which would change so many things, what sort of time frame do you think is out there before they're throwing punches with those two? Like next year, they can be competitive with a lot of the West. I really believe that. Now, when they grabbed the number 2 pick, certain media members that are paid by the Jazz got a little loose with their predictions and a little loose with what they think they can be next year. So I'm not going to go like top 3, top 4, 55 wins. But I think 45 wins in a play-in, tournament appearance, I don't think they can get top 6. But if they win 45 games and make the play-in next year, I think that's good progress.
In the NBA, you got to learn your lessons. I mean, maybe Magic Johnson didn't have to. But if you're not that, or Larry Bird, you've got, I say 2 or 3 years. That's what it'll take.
Yeah.
That's pretty prompt.
It is pretty prompt. It does bring into play what you do with marketing, right?
Yeah.
Because I do think there's a case to be made that your timeline begins with this pick.
How old is Laurie now? 28?
He turns 29 this year.
Oh.
So if you're looking at San Antonio and you're looking at Wembanyama, last night he was impossible. And can you do that 4 times in 7 tries in the finals? We'll see, but he's done it so far. 22 years old.
By the way, what a together athlete.
Yeah.
I don't know that. We observe things and then we think we know. We don't really know, but we kind of it's pretty clear that this guy is not only a specimen, a fantastic athlete, But man, he's got between the ears what it takes to do it.
Yeah, it's interesting. To your point, I mean, look, do we really know anything? We just talked about the Sorsby stuff. It brings so many things into question. But anyone who's around him, and Smitty, who you'll hear from later, started watching him when he was a teenager, because I can remember, I didn't know who he was, but we had Rudy here, obviously. So about, I don't know, maybe 5 years ago, this picture was surfacing on the internet of Rudy standing next to a teenager. And I'm like, he's 4 inches taller than Rudy. Who is this kid? And then you see these highlights of him like dribbling and doing crossovers and in and outs and going behind his back and like shooting it from 28 feet. It's pretty terrifying. And 22 years old. And Castle is awesome. And Harper is good. And he's 19. And Oklahoma City is not going anywhere either. So, like, as I'm watching the finals, my two teams have always been the Knicks and the Jazz. And so at some point, I would just love to see the Jazz have a chance to play on this stage. And with these two teams being so good and so young, it's hard to see the Jazz breaking through it anytime soon. So maybe their timeline does start with whoever they pick it to.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think it will take 2 or 3 years. And then we'll see how it shapes out. But, you know, all those years where the Jazz were going deep in the playoffs, and all you oldsters out there remember this stuff clearly. But boy, what would Jazz fans do to lose in the Western Conference Finals now?
Yeah.
You know, to even have that opportunity to face the Spurs or OKC in that kind of setting. Man, people here are so thirsty for that. That would be a big time story. And what used to be sort of, they got to the Western Conference Finals, but can they break on through to the finals? Come on, you know. Well, that's taking a few things for granted that folks these days would be pretty happy about.
Gordo, before I set you loose, by the time you and I speak, the U.S. will have started their World Cup experience. And as you know, Game 1 is against Paraguay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Everyone's talking about Gatito from Paraguay. What do you think?
I don't think it's much of a problem.
Really?
Although I do have my questions about Team USA.
Oh, yeah.
USMNT. These guys, I just don't think they have what it takes.
To beat Paraguay?
No, I mean, they can get by Paraguay.
Can they get out of the group?
That I'm not sure of. You know, tough group.
It's literally not, but okay.
Well, you know, they're going to have to. The way I see it, the best approach for them, and this is weird because it's not the way most American sports fans.
Now, don't get too cerebral here.
No,
but help us keep up.
I don't get too inside baseball.
Yeah,
here,
yeah.
You know. But I think it would behoove them to let Paraguay and other teams sort of penetrate forward.
Don't say it like that.
And
Gosh,
to play some defense. You know,
okay.
Let them lull them into, and they can even possess the ball for a while.
Okay,
go ahead and control it, but then attack.
Okay,
then attack.
So,
attack fast.
So like rope-a-dope.
A little bit, if you want to put it in such crass terms.
Okay,
you know,
I don't want to insult the beautiful game.
Exactly. But I think if you do that, you absorb the attack and then you counter. With maybe a long pass and bingo, then you got it. I think they should do that just about every time out.
So like a long ball over the top?
Well, you don't have to be greedy about it, but I might use the attackers, you know, to advance the ball a little bit.
Use the attackers to go on the attack?
Yeah, that's what attacking midfielders do.
Yeah, it's true.
I mean, you know, look, I really want to sort of dumb it down a little bit.
Yeah.
So your listeners can stay with us on this because it's the World Cup.
Yep.
It's the world's biggest sporting event.
Yes, it is.
Oh, it gives me chills just thinking about it.
Great to see you, all right?
I can't believe Jennifer Love you.
All right.
Out the door.
No.
Gone forever.
I'm doing okay, pal. We're good. Good to see you. The great Gordon Monson, want to let you know that in this moment, and Hollywood Undead are taking over the complex on October 20th. ESPN 700 wants to send you and your concert buddy to the show. Tune in to the Sean O'Connell Show this week for your chance to score a pair of tickets. 2 hours down, 2 hours to go. Keep it here. ESPN 700. We are 2 days away from the start of the World Cup as Mexico and South Africa will play in Mexico City. Then South Korea will play Czechia. And then the U.S. men's national team, it'll be their turn. Of course, we'll see if they can get it done with their opener against Paraguay. We've got a couple of friendlies, most recently against Germany, a 2-1 loss there. And let's welcome in our next guest. Good to get to know a new guest on the show, Filippo Silva, host of the Tactical Manager, covering the U.S. men's national team on YouTube. Filippo, how are you, man? Thanks for the time.
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me as well.
So, of course, we are here in Salt Lake City, so I'm going to start this interview today with a question for you about Diego Luna, who we all thought was going to get the call. He played in 17 of the 18 previous U.S. men's national team's games, 4 goals, 4 assists. He had a little bit of a rough start to RSL's calendar because of some injury stuff, but he came back. He was scoring goals. He was playing well. Were you surprised that Diego Luna did not get the call from Mauricio Pochettino, and what are your thoughts on it?
That's a good question. I was surprised, maybe not for the same reasons as maybe Real Salt Lake fans. They thought he was a lock to be in the roster mainly due to his soccer. I thought he was a lock under Pochettino. In terms of the overall roster, the position that he plays, we have a lot of options. So I knew it was going to be tough for anyone to make it, right? That's where Christian Pulisic plays. That's where Gio Reyna plays, Brendan Aronson, Zendejas, Malik Tillman. I was surprised because I thought he was one of Mauricio Pochettino, the coach's favorites, and he was on the marketing campaigns of the World Cup. So, yes, I was surprised from that point of view, but at the same time, I thought there was some type of risk of him being left out because he was fighting for that spot, right? He wasn't a roster lock like a Christian Pulisic, for example.
So, a lot of people believe Pochettino went Gio Reyna over Diego. Who else do you think got the call that cost Diego the spot?
I think actually it was Zendejas. People pointed to Gio Reyna because he's a player that's not playing much in his club soccer, right, in Germany. But the player that was not being called in consistently and ended up being called in last minute was Zendejas. So I think actually the one that he chose over Luna was Alejandro Zendejas, even though, yes, Gio Reyna is technically also the same position. So is Brendan Aronson, for example. But I don't think it was Gio Reyna.
Okay. Interesting. So before we get to what you think the U.S. men's national team will be able to do in this World Cup window here that's played in our region, your thoughts on the most recent friendlies, the preparation, and of course the send-off game, Germany 2-1, then Senegal 3-2. What did you learn as far as tactics and lineups and such that Mauricio Pochettino may implement come World Cup time?
So first and foremost, I like the way we played both games, right? We played 2 very strong opponents. Senegal, if you ask anyone that covers the game, they put them as one of the dark horses for the World Cup. They are technically the AFCON champions. They did beat Morocco in the final of the African Championship, but they lost it in court. It's a little bit complicated, and we beat them. Mind you, it's a friendly, so yes, teams do rotate, but I liked our performance. The other opponent we played, everyone's familiar with, right? Germany. They are a powerhouse of soccer. They haven't been the same lately as they used to be, but they're still a very strong team. And even though we lost 2-1, there are a lot of good takeaways and good things we did throughout the game. Tactically, it does look like Pochettino is going to go with a 3-4-2-1 formation that we kind of expected. And the starting 11 also, if you want to, do you want me to give you what I think the starting 11 will be?
Yeah, for sure.
He's been putting out.
Oh, let's hear it. Yeah.
It looks like Matt Freese will be the goalkeeper. That's why in the first game he rotated the other 2 just to give them minutes, but ultimately Matt Freese played 90 minutes. The 3 center backs, if they're all healthy and fit, because Richards was not available, but right now it looks like he is available, it should be Alex Freeman, Chris Richards, and Tim Ream. The right wing back is very likely Serginho Dest. The left wing back is very likely Anthony Robinson. The double pivot midfielders, based off the way he played, it looks like it's Tyler Adams and Malik Tillman. If it's not Tillman, he might play Sebastian Berhalter there, based on what he did in the 2 friendlies. But I think he'll go with Tillman. The 2 attacking midfielders, it looked like it will be Pulisic with Weston McKennie. And then up top, my guess is Balogun, but it looks like it's up for grabs with Balogun and Pepe because they both played very well. But I think at least for the first game, he'll still stick to Balogun.
So when it comes to reasonable expectations, Filippo, I mean, look, it's a manageable group. So hopefully we win the group, not just advance and get out of the group, but I feel like there's a good chance we could win it. And then from there, knockout stage soccer it can be crazy because you never know. But as a result of, hopefully having a bit of a home pitch advantage because the games will be played over here, and this golden era narrative surrounding some of these players that certainly have been raised in a ecosystem of soccer that's different than the players that came before them. I feel like quarterfinals, man, at least that's kind of where I'm at. What would be a successful run for the U.S. men's national team this year?
I think successful is what you just said, right? Quarterfinals. Not the problem, but the issue is for us to reach the quarterfinals, we very likely have to top our group just based on the bracket, right? I've done a few simulations to see where we land. I actually made a whole video about that. And if everything goes as planned on the other groups, going that route, which it never does right in the World Cup, but let's say it does, if we finish first, probably the toughest opponent we play before the quarterfinals would be a Belgium, which it's not an easy team. We actually lost to them very badly in March in a friendly. Again, it's a friendly, so I don't care too much about the results. But if you look at the top teams of this tournament, if you tell me, hey, you're going to have to play Belgium in round 16, what I'll tell you is I'll take it, right? I'll say we have some shot on beating them. That's not Argentina. That's not France. That's not Spain. The problem is we would probably play Spain in the quarterfinals, and that would very likely be the end of the road. You're right. It is crazy in the World Cup, the knockout rounds. Anything can happen. But if we play Spain 10 times, we'll probably lose 9. Maybe that one day is the one we win. Now, if we finish in second in our group, very likely we play Argentina in the round of 16, which is the second knockout game. So quarterfinals becomes a bit of a distant dream in that situation. And then if we finish in third place and we advance in third place, which you can if you're one of the top 8 third-place teams, we are expected to play Germany in the round 32 and France in the round of 16. So that's a pretty bad pathway right there, right? I don't like our odds. Maybe we can pull one upset, 2 in a row. That would be wild. So we have to finish first in the group. And you kind of said it yourself. This is a very manageable group. I don't like disrespecting the opponents. I think they're all tough, and they can all beat us. But in my lifetime, this is the easiest group we ever got handed to us in my lifetime.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that. Let's start with our first match. It's Paraguay coming up. Tell us about them, and what is the U.S. men's national team up against?
So Paraguay is a team I do know well because I do also cover South American soccer. Very strong defensively, but they struggle a lot to score goals, right? This is a team that in World Cup qualifying in CONMEBOL, which is the South American Confederation, they scored 14 goals in 18 games. That's not good, right? That is not good. That's less than 1 goal per game. But they only conceded 10. So they conceded even less. They were, if I'm not mistaken, they were the second best defense, tied with Argentina, just behind Ecuador. So it's all about that. It's like, can we get a goal on that rock-solid defense? And I'm not too concerned about that against Paraguay because we have been scoring goals against very good teams, but we've been leaking goals crazy. We've been leaking too many goals. Lucky for us, Paraguay doesn't score a lot. They're also going to be missing, according to reports, right, from the Paraguayan media. I don't have a source there to confirm that, but it looks like Enciso will be out. That's their best attacker. It looks like he's not going to be available. He's injured. As long as our defense doesn't play a horrendous game, we should be able to hold a clean sheet against Paraguay and hold them scoreless. The question is, can we break down their defense? Because I feel like Paraguay at some point in the game, if we keep dragging the 0-0 draw, they're going to get comfortable with that draw. They'll be okay with it. So what I'm expecting for that game is if we win, it should be a narrow win, 1-0, 2-0, maybe 2-1. But I do expect this to be Paraguay. We have to beat them at home.
So the next game will be Paraguay, by the way, is on Friday coming up. It is in L.A. It's a 7 o'clock Mountain Time kick, 9 o'clock Eastern Time. And then a week from Friday, it'll be June 19th, and that's Australia. That's in Seattle. So tell us about Australia, Filippo. What should we know?
So Australia, I do know less than Paraguay. I know a little bit about them because I watched them play friendlies last year where they played the U.S., actually, and we beat them. They played Mexico, and also on top of that, I've followed a little bit of the Asian Cup just to see what's going on. For anyone who doesn't know, Australia does play in the Asian Confederation, even though they're not in Asia, just to make that clear. They're a tough team to break down. I'd say there's some similarities to Paraguay. Strong defense, a team that has a fight in them, big guys. They have a little bit less quality than Paraguay going forward, but the problem with Australia is they've always been known for kind of overachieving in the World Cup, and that's my only concern. In terms of pure quality and talent, we have a lot more, and it should be a team that we beat. And honestly, this is looking like a worse version of Australia that we have seen in previous World Cups. Like last World Cup, this is what concerns me. Last World Cup, Australia was also not looking that great, and they got out of their group. And then they played Argentina in the round of 16, and honestly, they gave Argentina a very hard time. A very hard time. So it's just going to be another game that I think if we do need to pull a win, we can just out-talent them. We have better players, but it's going to be a grind. If we do win, it's going to be like a one-goal differential, 2-1, 1-0. And I'm just concerned about our defense holding a clean sheet. That's what I'm saying. If our defense plays well throughout these games, we should be able to hold both of those teams scoreless. Then it becomes a question of us if we can break down their defense because they're both very good defensively. But again, Australia is an opponent that we should also beat at home. And if that happens, what I just said, both games, I think it'll be the first time in history that the United States wins both of the first games in the World Cup. I don't think that's ever happened. At least not in modern soccer, right? I don't know about 1930, but like in modern soccer from the 90s beyond, I don't think it ever happened.
We don't need to dig into the 1930s, Filippo. I think we're good. I think we'll leave that there. The final group game will be the following Thursday on June the 25th. I'm actually hoping to be at this game. It's 8 o'clock Mountain Time in L.A., L.A. Stadium in Inglewood. It's Turkey, who I know nothing about, other than they're the highest-ranked team of the three in our group. So will this be our toughest test?
I think so, because then we finally will be playing a team that I think they have players that can out-talent us, right? They qualified in UEFA, which is in Europe, through the extra playoffs. So they didn't qualify directly. Out of the European teams, I wouldn't put them as the top ones, right? I don't think there's 16 European teams. I wouldn't place Turkey even as a top 10, but they're definitely not among the worst. And then I would say the two players to watch out for Turkey would be Arda Güler from Real Madrid and Yildiz from Juventus. Like, these are two players that do concern me with the defense that we have. The way we've been playing, these guys are going to make things happen. I find it very unlikely that we hold a clean sheet against them when we're facing two guys of that talent. So, yes, that's definitely the most concerning game. I would say, actually, I'm probably equally as concerned about Paraguay, mainly because it's the first game, right? The first game, everyone's a little bit nervous. Things might not go your way. But I would say, yes, that's the toughest opponent in the group stage. So hopefully we get 2 wins, and hopefully we have a better goal differential. So if we can pull a draw, we go through in first. Could we win? Yes. But, again, tough opponent.
Filippo Silva's with us. Hey, what's your background? How did you get into this space? And, as far as your kind of journey and when did you start to really, really enjoy the game of soccer? Has it been a part of your life since you were a youth?
Well, I'm born in a Brazilian household, so.
Okay.
So when did I get into soccer? Probably when I was born, right away. I don't remember. I just remember always being into it. And then I've always been into soccer and started working a little bit with it before COVID in Central Florida. And then when COVID happened, also started the YouTube channel. I have a soccer company in Orlando, and I also do have the YouTube channel as well. So nowadays I'm heavily involved with it, but I've always been into it for my entire life.
So I was not raised on soccer at all. In fact, was really not into it, not even a little bit, until RSL came here in 2004. So I've learned over the years, Filippo, just what a great game it is. And I think it really lends itself to excellent storytelling. Soccer documentaries and things like that are very interesting to me. And so I am a convert. So I know that it's possible for someone who was anti-soccer at one point to really be into it and enjoy watching it and learning about it. last time the World Cup was played here in 1994, it directly led to the implementation and creation of MLS, who, of course, is still here and thriving and growing to this day. Tell me what you think a World Cup being played in our region could do for maybe the next stage of growth of soccer in the United States.
So it's tricky for me to answer that, mainly because I was months old in 94, right? So I didn't experience that to compare. I go based on a lot of what people tell me. I think soccer nowadays, though, just based on studying how we were back then, talking to former players, right, that were in the 80s here and before, I think we're in a much different position where I don't think the issue is soccer specifically growing in the United States. I think soccer is big in the United States, right? We put games, or we've sold out games with 90,000 people, 70,000 people. That happens in the U.S. all the time. European clubs come here over the summer. I think the big question is, how does MLS, USL, which is the second division, and the U.S. men's national team, how they grow in the United States, right? I'll give you an example. If you go to any country in the world, or at least, let's say, countries with top, I consider MLS a top 15 league in the world, right? So go to any countries that are top 15 in the world, and you will see that the most watched league is the domestic league. In the U.S., it's not the case, right? Premier League and Liga MX, the Mexican league, they beat MLS in terms of viewership. So the question is, how does MLS and USL too, the second division, how do they become number one in this country? How do we get to actually, I guess, Americanize the sport here, make it a bit more popular among our own leagues and the U.S. national team? Because we have a lot of dual nationals in this country, immigrants, that they're obviously rooting for their homeland. How do we, I wouldn't say convert them, but how do we bring them in? I think that's the biggest question, because soccer is big in this country. It's just a matter of, like, how do we do that? Can it be bigger? Yes, but I don't think it needs to be bigger. That's the thing. Like, the size that it is right now, we could already be in a much better position than we are. And very likely it's not going to beat basketball. It's not going to beat football anytime soon. Honestly, even baseball, even though that has more of an aging demographic, it's not. Like, that's just much more cultural in the United States of America. But I do think soccer is already big enough in this country, something that I don't think it was the case in 1994. So what is the impact of what's going to happen now? I don't know. I think that if the United States national team does make it to a quarterfinals or I don't know, semifinals, something crazy, maybe we get a lot of the kids right now that are from a Brazilian household, a Mexican-American household, an Argentine household. Maybe they start to get into more U.S. soccer. I think it's not a question of how do we grow soccer in America, it's how do we grow U.S. soccer, if that makes any sense of what I said.
No, I think that's well said. Hey, before I set you loose, big question. Who wins it? Who's your pick to win the World Cup this year?
Oh, boy, why'd you put me on the spot there? Look, I'm just going to go with the safe pick, and I know this is just, I could go for a hot take and try to say, hey, Brazil is going to pull it off under Ancelotti, but I think ultimately if we're going to make the safe bet here, I would say France. Unless they self-implode, they are the most talented team. They have a coach that has made it to 2 consecutive finals and won one. That is the safest bet right now. Now, will they win it? You know how the World Cup is. You said that you've been following soccer closely around 2004, so you've watched quite a few World Cups. It usually doesn't go the way we expect it to go, but the safest bet right now is France.
Filippo, where can people go find your work, bud?
They can find me on YouTube, Tactical Manager TV. I think most of them might even know me by now if they follow U.S. Soccer. Instagram, also Tactical Manager TV. And if they're on Twitter or, I guess, X, right, they can go to Manager Tactical. They'll find me there.
Thank you, my friend. Appreciate it. Enjoy the games. Fun time of year, yeah?
Thank you very much, and let's hope we go far in the tournament.
For sure. Filippo Silva, Tactical Manager, covers the U.S. men's national team. The World Cup begins on Wednesday. The U.S. men's national team will play their first match on Friday. Excuse me, the World Cup begins on Thursday. That's their first game. And then the U.S. men's national team. It's Mexico, South Africa, 1 o'clock on Thursday. Then it's South Korea and Czechia, I believe that's how you say it. I'm sure I'll botch a bunch of countries and players' names throughout this cycle. Then the U.S. men's national team, it'll be Friday against Paraguay at 9 p.m. Eastern, 7 o'clock Mountain Time in L.A., Inglewood, California. That game can be seen on Fox. Fox has the rights to the World Cup this year. All right, before we catch a break, DraftKings Sports is live now in all 50 states. Yes, that means you, Utah. The whole world is watching one tournament right now: group stage chaos, knockout drama, stoppage time, heartbreak. The DraftKings Sports app is now live in Utah, so whether you're catching the early kickoff before work or the late match at the bar, you're in on every minute, every match, every moment, all in one app. The world's biggest stage is in the palm of your hand. Now, new DraftKings customers sign up with code ESPN700. Spend $5 to get $200 in total rewards. That's code ESPN700. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours. Event trading offered by DraftKings Predictions, a CFTC-registered introducing broker. Trading involves risk of loss. Market availability varies. Eligibility restrictions apply. $50 every 7 days via click-to-claim issued in non-withdrawable predictions dollars that expire in 1 year. It ends on June the 28th. Teams dkng.co/predictions promo. We did our best to get through all that. All right, we'll catch a break. Coming up next, my podcast with our friends at KUTV and Sinclair Media. It's our guy Smitty to talk some Jazz draft and some NBA. Then we'll get to the 5 o'clock hour of the show. We'll say goodnight at 6 right here on ESPN 700. We got Game 4 of the Stanley Cup Final tonight. Vegas leads that series 2-1 between the Hurricanes and the Golden Knights. That'll come your way after we say goodnight. Porter, say something. I have to sneeze.
Bless you. Lord bless you. And the New York Knicks.
Yeah, indeed. Do you know what your record amount of sneezes are in one? This is a weird thing.
Really on the spot.
I honestly keep track of this. The most sneezes you've had consecutively. Do you know the number?
I've had like bad allergy days as a youngin that, I was flirting with dozens, but I don't know.
Dozens?
I mean like literally all day. So in consecutive, not exactly sure. But I'm allergic, not as bad now, but when I was young, to the cottonwood trees.
Oh, okay.
And I lived in the river bottom. So.
I see. 8 for me.
Nice.
8 consecutive sneezes. I'll never forget it. Because my record for years was 7. And then one day I had 8 straight. I'm like, I did it. Broke the record. How you feeling about the New York Knicks' chances of winning 2 more basketball games?
Good.
Okay. All right.
I think that last night the Spurs clearly adjusted and found some things that work, but the onus is still on them to win 3 more basketball games, and the Knicks have the advantage. They have another game at home here, which I think they hold serve in, and then the pressure's really on. If you go in and win Game 4 and you're up 3-1, the tension starts to shift towards that other team in a way that is really, really tough to come back from. I think they do it, Spence, and a huge thanks in part to when you go up 2-0 on the road, everything kind of is in your favor at that point.
Our friend Sammy Moore from Ute Zone is reporting that Aiden Martin has signed with Utah, a linebacker from the state of Texas. So you can check out Ute Zone for more information there. All right, Porter, what's coming up on a Wednesday edition of the program?
Wednesday edition of the program, Tim McMahon on a NBA Finals game day, your NBA Daily Assist. Nick Olczyk will react to Game 4 of the Stanley Cup Finals. Craig Bolerjack stops by as well, and still working on another guest or 2.
All right, there you go. That'll be a Wednesday show. It'll be game day for the NBA Finals, so that'll be fun. We'll say goodnight. Special thank you to Howard Beck, Gordon Monson, Filippo Silva, and then Smitty on the podcast today as well. If you missed any of it, go to the website. It's ESPN700sports.com. Download the mobile app. Take us on the go. And then 2 podcast pages. Reality Check with Spence Checketts with our friends at KUTV. Then this program, The Drive with Spence Checketts. If you have some time tonight, please subscribe to those platforms. Rate, review them. Say nice things. Give us all the stars. For Porter, I'm Spence saying goodnight. Some NHL Stanley Cup Final hockey coming up next right here on your home of the Utes, ESPN 700.